Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And what are we talking about this time? More Nintendo. Because the Nintendo Direct is what everybody's talking about. It is the new hot thing. The Switch 2 was not released, but it was announced and it's going to be releasing soon. And Nintendo has confirmed that some Switch 2 game cards will only include a download key. So Nintendo has confirmed that these new Nintendo Switch 2 game cards won't always carry an actual game, and will instead sometimes simply contain a key for a game download. The Super Mario Brothers company detailed how it will update its approach to physical game cartridge in a customer support post published shortly after the Direct. It explains when the Nintendo Switch arrives in June, you'll be able to carry on purchasing physical Switch games just as you've done for the last 8 years, but there are a few things to keep in mind. The post in question focuses on game key cards, physical cards that only contain a key to download your chosen game. That means there's no actual game data on the card you insert into the Switch 2, so you'll need to download it once the card is inserted. Every game key card case will be appropriately labeled in the lower portion of the front of the box. So if you're concerned about what exactly you're purchasing, you should have a heads up right away. So it shows in the lower portion of the Nintendo Switch 2 boxes, it says game key card, meaning that this particular game is just a download code, and the game itself or the SD card inside is not the actual game. It's just a download for the game. News that Nintendo will utilize these game key cards for the Nintendo Switch has already taken hold of physical gaming fans who prefer the simplicity of plug and play without the need for lengthy download periods and the internet connection to get set up. The concern is that these are a little more than fancy key holders that will soon replace all standard cartridges. But there are a few reasons to believe this is actually the case for now. Many have taken to social media, to vent their frustrations. Some early looks at the Switch 2 box art, including covers for games like Street Fighter 6 and Bravely Default Remaster, do indeed feature game key card disclaimers. Others, such as Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, do not. It appears the game keycard approach will likely be reserved for a few especially hefty games that might benefit from key strategy, such as something like Hogwarts Legacy or Final Fantasy VII Remake. Again, I don't remember how big the SD cards are for the Switch 2. I don't even know if they said how much they can store.
32 gigs, I think, is what the capacity is of one
32?
of those. That's the Switch. Now, I don't know if the Switch 2 is changing technologies. I didn't think they were, because it's the same slot for the Switch 1s or Switch 2 games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a higher capacity SD card, right?
Maybe.
But like Cyberpunk 2077 is coming to the Switch 2. The Ultimate Edition will ship with a game card that comes in at a whopping 64 gigabytes on the Switch 2's launch day. And that was already confirmed by CD Projekt Red. So it says it will ship with a game card.
Yeah.
Is that a game key card?
Yeah, the red key.
The writing is kind of
it looks like the Switch 2 has up to 64 gigabit capacity on those. So
okay. So yeah, I mean, according to CD Projekt Red's official site, theirs is a physical 64 gigabyte game card. So the game is on or majority of the game, right, is on the card, according to them. Or you can buy it digitally. Which means they've used up the entire storage of that SD card. But that doesn't maybe include updates, right? I mean,
right.
You're going to probably have updates or downloads, right? That's probably going to be like a base version, and then you'll have to download updates from that point on. But I mean, it seems like Nintendo is just ever pushing. I mean, we knew the digital frontier was coming, right? And we didn't know who was going to push things into that future, especially with game prices and digital only type of experiences. You know, a lot of people were Microsoft, or a lot of people were Sony is going to be doing it. And damn, I wasn't expecting Nintendo to come out of left field and be like, we'll be first, you know, with the higher prices, with the digital only type of stuff. Now they won't, it's not 100%, like not every game will be that way, but I think this is, I mean, some games just can't fit on the SD cards, right? So that makes sense. But I think this is also a way for Nintendo to push that digital future, right? And you're going to see this not just from Nintendo either. You're going to see this from Sony and Microsoft. They've already made moves in this direction. So you're just going to see this more and more happening, right? And Nintendo needs to step up with it as well. They're just the first ones out of the gate to do so. So I don't know. What do you think of the key card fiasco?
I didn't have Switch pushes digital as hard as they did on my bingo card this year. So I already lost that center spot. I don't like it. I mean, the whole reason to buy physical, in my opinion, was that, you know, if something happens and I lose internet, I can still play the game, right? Unless it has DRM, which is annoying as shit anyway. But, you know, Switch games have always typically been just pop in the cartridge and play the game. You know, I don't have to be online. And now it's like, hey, I need to plan ahead and have the game on my console if I want to play offline or whatever. So this is Switch, or Nintendo specifically, pushing hard for that digital footprint. They want to get rid of the physical media to no end. It seems like it's like they just came out of the gate with a vengeance for whatever reason. They're wanting to get rid of the physical, you know, and for a lot of people who buy things physical, it's nice to have the cartridge and the case because it looks good on your rack, but also to have the physical game to play whenever you want, and whether it's offline or traveling or whatever. I can just bring a handful of discs with me, pop them in, or cartridges, and plop them in and play, not to worry about if I have internet or not. Now, that's not the case. You got to remember, is that cartridge, now you have to kind of remember, if you keep your cartridges in like a case with the Switch, you got to remember, is this a download game or is this the game on the cart? So I don't like that. Then why the hell even put out a physical media then for that game? What's the point?
Well, it's like
just the cart, just have the case at that point to put on your shelf and look pretty.
Right. And I was thinking about too, like, there's a big difference between like the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the Switch, right? The Switch is, besides a home console that has a dock, it's also a mobile console that you take with you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
Whereas it's a lot easier to kind of make that distinction of like choosing between physical or digital on like a PlayStation or an Xbox, because they're going to sit in the same spot. You know, they're hardly ever going to move around. You know, maybe once in a while, but hardly ever, right? Whereas the Switch is designed to be mobile. So, you know, you are going to run into, you know, that's kind of one of the nice features about the original Switch, is being able to, like you said, plop a game in and play it, even when you're in a situation where you don't have internet access.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And so, like, I don't get the whole point. Like I said, the only point now is that if it's one of these game key cards, to buy it is just to have the box with the box art, and you know, and you're like, okay. But yeah, and then you're gonna have to remember, unless they're gonna make the cartridges, the key cards, off colored or something, right? Is it gonna be a red card? You know, is it gonna be a discolored cartridge, so you know, hey, if this one's in my case that I have to download, it has to download the game. The game's not here. That way you will remember that, because it looks like right now for the screenshots it's only on the case. But like I said, I haven't seen the cartridges, so and yeah, and some of this stuff could just be some of these games could just be a limitation of the SD of 64 gigabytes, because there's a lot of games that we have today that are well over that easily 90, 120. I mean, any of the Call of Duties or something like that, 120, 90 gigs, it's ridiculous. So you're at a end stage of the technology at that point, which really surprised me that Nintendo didn't do something about a different cartridge so they wouldn't have this problem. Because they did mention that Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Bonanza will not be a game key card; it'll be the full game, right? I think that's what I read. So I mean, at this point, it's just getting the box for the box art and to put on your shelf. That's the only thing I can think of.
I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about like the Nintendo Direct, and I was thinking about like the video they showed of the people playing and stuff like that. It almost seems like, and I'm just thinking back at that, and it almost seems like Nintendo. It almost seems like Nintendo didn't quite want to go the direction of a handheld console this time around. Because thinking of the videos that they showed of the people playing at home, thinking of the Switch One, like the introduction video, you saw a lot of people like going on the subway and they're at a party and someone pulls out the Switch and they got the Joy-Cons and stuff. And they didn't really show that in this one for the Switch 2. They showed that docked at home playing online, right? And so it was almost like they kept the handheld portion because that's what people were expecting or that's what people were hoping for. And so they kind of kept with that, but really wanted this to be more of a sit at home, box console in a sense. Right. And it almost seems like it almost seems like thinking about like how the dock is designed now, because the dock comes with the inside cooler inside the dock and the of course the higher higher visuals has always been the case between dock and handheld mode, but they didn't really focus a lot on handheld mode in that direct, right? And they focused more on having it docked and using it that way. I mean, they did go over some of the handheld. They did change the stand on it. It's a much better stand than the Switch One has, right? So the features are still there, but
yeah.
I'm wondering, especially with this, right?
Yeah, especially because games are not small. I mean, some games are, right? But because it's just weird for me to think of Nintendo as that way. But Nintendo seems to be like all in on this digital front. And there's rumors, and I don't know if these are true or how to substantiate them or anything, but it seems like somebody got wind that physical copies of the game were going to be like $10 more. But I saw somebody saying this is going to be a $90 physical, and I'm like, I couldn't find actual official information on that, but there's just forum posts everywhere and posts on videos about, well, that's a $90 physical, and I'm like, where did you get this? If that is true, what the hell, Nintendo? Because they're, it's like they just jumped the shark big time. They're like, hey, we went from a $60, $70 to an $80, $90 price point, and they were the first to make that jump when their games are typically not worth it to me. Like I cannot think on my hand. I cannot fathom spending $90 on a Switch game. I just cannot. I just can't. Because I can't even fathom thinking about that for a non-Switch game. When somebody mentioned that GTA 6 is going to be like a $90 or $100 game, I'm like hell it is. I'll wait for it to be on sale, Right. And so I just cannot fathom Nintendo doing that. But Nintendo, the old saying is, Nintendo does what Nintendo wants, right?
Right.
So I don't know. Part of me just, I hope the $90 rumor is false. I'm leaning towards it probably is. But at the same time, $80 Switch game, and then them wanting to charge you $10 more for the Switch 2 version of the game, of a game that's already built, mind you, that's been out, like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. They haven't fully said those were going to be $10 upcharges, but I imagine they probably are. And so it's like, hey, that game was $70. Breath of the Wild was $70 or $60. It's $59. It's $60. It's going to be a $70 game on the Switch, and you're just like, what? Why? And then for the longest time, Sony did offer free upgrades, right, from the PS4 to PS5 version, but they cut that off quickly. But but they didn't like jack the price. I don't remember them jacking the price up and saying this was a $60 game and now it's a $70 game. It was still just $60, or if you had the 60, they charge you a $10 upcharge, right? Or something like that. Instead, it looked like buying the game was going to be $10 more if you didn't already own it. And I'm just like, that just makes no sense to me. It makes sense to somebody in Nintendo HQ. I hope a lot more stuff is going to be not $10 upcharge. But I don't know. Nintendo just seems to have fallen off the deep end with their pricing structure here. Because I'm priced out of the Switch too. I'm priced out. And I'm priced out at most of their games at $80. Like, I obviously get the bundle and get the Mario Kart
That's
World.
a cheaper route to go.
Right. Ultimately. If you buy the bundle and you get $50, the game is $50. But, that bundle may not be around when I can afford a Switch 2, if I could ever afford a Switch 2, right? So
right.
I cannot see spending $80 on a Switch 2 game. To me, that's just another notch of I can't afford this to play it. And I'm out. Unfortunately, I really want to play some of this stuff, and I want to play. I want to play some of their locked in titles on better hardware. I bet Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom look freaking amazing and play amazing on the Switch too.
Right.
But I'm only going to play this. I'm only going to play their exclusive title, their first party and exclusive titles only. So I can't justify that console right now. Maybe in the future I can, but and then with them doing this whole game key card thing, they're pushing really hard for people to go digital only. And rightfully, I'm not saying rightfully so, but I understand their game plan, because game developers have wanted to put GameStop out of business forever, and doing this will put things like GameStop and all these resellers out of the market, right? Because now, instead of you being able to say, I bought this game at full price for $60, and then I took it to GameStop or whatever game company you have in your country and trade it in and get store credit. Maybe I played it and I beat it within a month of getting it, or a couple of weeks, and they're going to offer me the premium, which, $40-$50 or whatever I can get, and, they'll offer me $40 in store credit or something. And then they turn around and sell that game for like 50, 50, 55, which is cheaper. And then somebody else comes in and buys it. GameStop has made a market out of that. Essentially, right. They are able to resell that same copy multiple times. And Nintendo doesn't like that, because they're like, hey, we lost out. If you resold that same copy 3 times, we lost out on 3 sales. We only got the initial sell. And so they're trying to eliminate that market. Them and Microsoft and Sony and every other developer out there wants to get rid of this market. Gamers benefited from this market, but now the digital age has made convenience the priority, right? And outside of Nintendo, the convenience is paid off, because I could get a game that was $60 or $70 when it came out for $30 or $40 if I just wait for a digital sale. But Nintendo doesn't do that shit. Very rarely. And when they do a sale, it's $5-$10 off.
Right.
It's not like 20, 30, 40, or 50% off. It's, here's your $5 off or $10 off for this game that's been out forever, right? So Nintendo it's just got the market cornered, where they're just going to rake it in hand over fist as soon as they can move to strictly digital. And that's what it seems like they're doing now. They just they didn't tip a toe in. They freaking cannonballed into that pool.
They went like, right into that pool. They swan dived. Yeah,
they swan dived. Yeah, they belly flopped, and I hope it's a belly flop, and I hope it stings, because I don't like the direction. To me, I don't like the direction, but I'm also not going to be their target demographic, because I'm not buying a Switch 2, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would like one, but I just cannot at that price point. And then $80 games are just crazy to me. $80 Switch games are just crazy to me, because it seems like we just went from $60 to $70 to $80 games in like the span of just a few short years. Because we were at $50 games forever, and then it was like, okay, we made the jump to 60, and then it's accelerated. It's like, 70, 80, and you're just like,
well, I mean, I've said this before, but like, there's going to be, I mean, what they're looking for is they're looking for that sweet spot for them, right? Mm-hmm. Where consumers will still purchase it, and they can sell them for the higher price, because there's going to be a point where you're going to outprice the consumers, right? And your products are going to be too high that consumers are not going to purchase them, right? We've seen that a lot with a lot of different technology, like even like those big manufacturers out there that build certain things like the Meta Pro and the Apple Vision and stuff like that, right? It just outpriced the market. It was just too expensive for the average consumer, so it didn't sell, right? So you're going to eventually see where game consoles, Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, or a PlayStation outprice the market, where the market's not able to afford what they're selling.
I love Nintendo, but I hope that they've reached that point. I hope that this is a flop for them, and they have to lower the price, because I want one, but at the same time, I just cannot justify it. And I don't know if I'm in the minority of gamers out there of that, but I being selfish and being a gamer, hope that it flops because it's too expensive. But I'm probably in the minority for that, because I'm not like a fanboy for Nintendo. I like their stuff. And I don't want to see them go anywhere, because they're one of the few gaming companies that are still around from my childhood and youth that I like. But at the same point, I just can't afford to play their stuff. And I just can't justify it. I just cannot. So I hope it's a flop, and then I hope everything goes cheaper. I want to see it go from $450 to $300, and then games that they're trying to sell for $80 go back down to $60. I just don't see it. But that's me, and that's my opinion, and everybody's entitled to their own, and people will buy it. I may be in the minority on that one. I don't know.
It'll probably sell like hotcakes, but it is going to be, I do want one, same as you, and there's a lot of games I want to play on it. But it's going to be one of those wait for me as well.
Well, we're being forced to wait anyway, because it may not even be $450 here.
It might be $600-700. Who knows?
Maybe $500. Yeah. Well, it would definitely be a flop at $600 or $700.
Yeah.
So in this country, so those exporters are going to have to eat. If it's going to be even close to $550 or $600, the exporters are going to have to eat some of that. So
yeah.
So I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
I want one, but can't afford it.
Yeah, same. I'm in the same boat. You got anything else you want to add to this?
No.
Well, let us know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think of the game keys? I'm glad that there's a disclaimer on it. That's nice. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, the industry as a whole is pushing towards digital, right? Just didn't, like Pat said, that wasn't on my bingo card that Nintendo was going to make the first move. Or the major move, right? Everybody's been making moves, but Nintendo just kicked the door open. So, with a lot of things. So, but anyway, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Are you going to pick up a Switch 2? Are you getting, I think pre-orders are coming up soon. By the time you see this video, it should be close to that time of pre-orders starting up. So let us know if you're going to get one, and what game on the Switch 2 are you most looking forward to? If I had a Switch 2, I would say for me, and I know it's going to come out on Switch 1, but Metroid Prime 4. I really want to play that on Switch 2.
Yeah, Metroid. Yep, same as me.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, let us know down in the comments below what you're looking forward to, and other than that, what you think. But thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Help us out. Do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. We'll see you next time.